Ma'am Joyce Banda, very happy to meet you. Please tell us what brings you to South Africa.
I was having meetings here. I think a week or so ago, I had a meeting with Madame Graça Machel. We haven't met since the funeral, so we met because I saw her on CNN that she had this big meeting where she was launching the maternal and child health program. And as you know, that's my favorite field as well. And she's one of those people that I admire most. And as I move forward, we had that meeting. I went to the US to attend what they call the Stark Hearing Foundation. Mm-hmm. They provide hearing aids to Africa and all over the world. And in Malawi, when they came last year, the clinic took place in State House. And they have assisted 8,000 Malawians. Okay. And for that reason, they invited me to go and speak. So I went. And at this event, I spoke together with Bishop Desmond Tutu, and Hillary Clinton was there too. And it was a two-day event, and I spoke there. From there, I went to Washington, where I spoke at the Andrew Young honoring event. It was Pan-African business people that organized the event, and I was invited to give the vote of thanks. Then I'm on my way home, and I stopped here to have meetings with interested parties and friends that want to support the Joyce Banda Foundation. The Joyce Banda Foundation has programs in Malawi, has offices in Malawi, and has offices also. It's an international organization. So I'm just looking at how we can improve the services that we provide, particularly to women. The reason being that I feel sad that we're going 2015 to the UN to take stock of what we have achieved in the Millennium Development Goals. And the ones where we are not going to do well are those that affect women, yes. Particularly MDG 3. Mm-hmm. So that's where I've spent 30 years supporting women, because my mission in life is to assist women and youth gain social and political empowerment through business. Yeah, so, and I just, for 10 years, I've been saying what we should do in order to achieve MDG 3. By the way, you're looking at a living example of what can happen if you invest in women. Yes. And particularly if they become economically empowered. True. And so I truly believe that that we need to do more. Mm. We may not achieve that, but for me, empowering women and achieving gender equality is my platform, is my goal. And I want to see how I can do more of that, not only in Malawi, but across Africa. That's what brings me to South Africa this week.
You've had a particularly difficult few months, especially with the Malawi elections in May, and the elections were much disputed. You asked for a rerun of the elections. What is your take on that?
When we were preparing for elections, I think if you followed what the opinion polls said, I don't want to go back to that, but then we went into elections. The first day, the first hour, a lot of things started to happen that made Malawians feel uncomfortable. In Blantyre, that is very, very close, maybe a kilometer or two, to the Malawi Electoral Commission, materials were not there. Mm-hmm. So people started agitating and throwing stones, and so we knew straight away there was going to be trouble. So in most places, they didn't even start voting until in the afternoon. So they started at night, and then the following day, the law in Malawi says that you vote in one day, 6 to 6. But people were voting 4 days later. So there was a lot of complaints and people saying that, and seeing evidence that things were not right. So initially what I did was to take responsibility and to call for a recount or an audit to make sure that people are comfortable. Because what brings conflict in most parts of the world after elections is when there's doubt, when there's mistrust. That was ignored. Then 2 days later, it was even worse. And that's when I asked for legal advice. And I was told that what I could do is to ask that we have a rerun. Sure. Since now it was clear that things were not right. Okay. So I made an announcement that this is what I was thinking. In the absence of a rerun and credible elections, and to avoid conflict, perhaps we need to have a rerun. At that point, I realized that if I'm calling for a rerun, and then I'll look as if I have vested interest, true, that maybe I want to influence that second part of elections, and that I want to insist that I stay in State House. So I said that I was stepping aside, that if there's a rerun, then I'm not available for election. The next day, thank God, the Electoral Commission made an announcement that they wanted to confirm that indeed there had been massive rigging and fraud, and that they too were endorsing for a recount. So while they were preparing to have a recount, there were injunctions. Mm-hmm. And to cut a long story short, in the end, that didn't happen, and the elections, finally, the judge ruled in favor of the incumbent president. In my mind, I said, people have asked me, why did you not contest? Why did you accept? Why did you concede? When the Electoral Commission itself had announced that there was fraud and that there was massive rigging, and when the commissioners on the Electoral Commission had actually said that they would not endorse the results, and why did you concede when this is an election that was decided by one judge? When indeed, finally you appeal, then it's 3 judges deciding on a constitutional matter such as this. So, and my answer then and now is that I felt that it was important for me to allow peace to prevail. That what was important for me, if I have always said all my adult life that Malawians come first, this was an opportunity for me to demonstrate that whatever I had said initially, let's have a recount, let's have a rerun, and at that point, must be in the best interest of Malawians. Malawians must have a leader of their choice, but Malawians also must not shed blood. And for me, I said, there's life after State House, and there's so much more that I can do. So I chose to concede and to vacate State House, and I have no regrets. And I respect the president now, because you can only have one president at a time.
That's true. Did you at any point feel that your own credibility was affected and undermined because of the elections and whatever came in its aftermath?
No. What is happening continuously every day since then is that I'm vindicated every day. Yeah. So where I conceded and I left State House and I allowed democracy to prevail. And so there's no way I can worry about my credibility, because here I am, I'm not in State House. Yeah.
What were your achievements those 2 years that you were the president? You were Africa's second female president. So any particular achievements that you'd like to talk about?
When we talk about achievements, I would like to allow other people to say what I was able to achieve. What gives me great pride, though, is to say very clearly to the whole world that I left Malawi at a better place than where I found it. When I came in, the economy in Malawi was on the verge of collapse. As everybody knows, that year, economic growth was only 1.8%. We didn't have fuel for a day. Companies were operating at 35%, scaling down and even closing down, people losing their jobs. 2 million people didn't have food. We had a forex cover for a week. And that's the time I come in. When you have campaigned for a job and you get into State House, then you have psychologically prepared yourself to get there. In my particular case, the president passed away. So 2 days later, 3 days later, I find myself in State House, and this is the economic situation of the country. So I had to move very quickly to make very bold decisions, because there had been resistance in the past, reluctance by the former leaders to even devalue the kwacha, because they are unpopular steps that you are taking, and people pay the price by feeling the economic pain when you devalue. Especially in my case, we were to devalue by 40%, 45%. That was a lot, but at the end of the day, that's the only thing you need to do in order for the economy to turn around. And for you, the task at that moment is to make people understand that it is necessary, particularly where 85% of the people are rural-based. Right. So you have to be very brave and make them understand that this is necessary to swallow this bitter pill, so that you feel better. So, and I thank God that Malawians stood by me. So we devalued the kwacha. We drew up an economic recovery plan. Now, fast forward, by the time I was leaving State House, the economy grew by 6% from 1.8. We had a harvest of 3.9 million metric tons, 1 million metric tons overproduction. Companies were operating at 85%. And the forex that we had for a week, we now had the forex cover of 3.5 months. We didn't have fuel for a day. We had, by the time I left, we had fuel for 15 days at any given time. And we were in the process of building tanks to have a reservoir for 2.5 months. So I feel proud that by the time I left, there was a water program, water project at least in every district. We had a model village in every district where people had modern houses. We had reduced maternal death from 675 women dying per 100,000 to 460 in 2 years. It is a model that I'm proud of, that I hope that can be continued in Malawi, because we had to do several things, including engaging local leadership in order to achieve that reduction in maternal death. And we built 22 holding shelters, where we have a holding shelter at a hospital, so that women can come 2 weeks before and wait at that clinic, so that they don't waste time walking the long distances and end up having babies on the way. I feel that the one thing that I wasn't much aware of when I came into office, and that I woke up midway, was that as long as the issue of, because we had repealed all the negative laws that existed in the country, but I wasn't aware that there was so much corruption, and that corruption affects the success that you're gaining. The gains that you are making can be eroded by corruption. And I recall, as I've said in Malawi, talking to one ambassador, the ambassador of the European Union, saying to him, tell me what you see. We've been trying to recover the economy, and we are here, but we could do more. But what's going on? And he's the one who first woke me up, that you need to pay close attention to the integrated financial management system. That is the one that is being abused. And leaders in the past have been warned. Since 2005, money has been lost. At that point, in the other government, there had been 1.7 billion that was being queried. In this next government, this was a 5-year term. The first president served for 3 years, and I was coming in to complete the last 2 years. And so I was told that you need to check, and I did. And I asked my finance minister and the budget director to go deep into what we call IFMIS, the financial management system. And I made an announcement to the nation on the 7th of September, 2013, to say this is what I have decided to do, that we should close loopholes and make sure that that system is not being abused. Because I discovered later that it is one where you use password. You open it, and you can draw and then close it, and as long as you trash it, it can never be traced. While that exercise was happening, that's when we were fortunate to have the first group arrested. And then I came out and strengthened the police investigation team, chose an expert in criminal investigation as the deputy head of police, and gave instructions on radio and TV that I wanted thorough investigation and that anybody and everybody that was found to be implicated to be arrested, and that we wanted to start all over again. Now, that is what led to the arrest of 68 people, the freezing of 30 accounts. I directed that property that was not explained how it was acquired, withdrawn, and I wanted the financial management system to be revamped. And that we were lucky that that happened, but I wanted an international inspector to come and inspect that new system. And I also requested the government of Britain, through the ambassador in Malawi, to provide resources for us to conduct a forensic audit, to see just how much Malawi had lost. I was warned by colleagues from across the continent, that it's not easy to fight corruption. You fight corruption at your own risk, because at the end of the day, you're fighting very powerful people who are benefiting from that kind of money, and that if you're not careful, you get smeared on. Number two, you will be fought through and through. You'll be dragged to the ground. You may never get up again. I was told this might happen. For me, the choice was simple. Is it Malawians or is it my career? For me, the choice was simple. It is Malawians first. So even if it means me putting my political career online, even if I happen to be married to a lawyer, so he told me that as long as you haven't done anything wrong, anything can smear anything onto you, it can go viral, it can go anywhere. At the end of the day, it will have to be proven. So if you care so much about Malawians, pay the price. And that's the advice I took. So now I decided to go back into 2010 and 2011, because I saw the benefit of us finding the truth. Because that is the only way, not witch hunting, but the only way we can move forward into the future. And so I looked into 2012 and 2012, an audit report, an audit was conducted and a report issued, and that report now, together with the cash gate, what is the so-called cash gate now, the money that was stolen while I was in office, which is 6 billion, and the 92 billion, those reports were sent to Parliament, and they're before Parliament now. But the good news is that the current president has also decided to go ahead, to go on with the fight against corruption. So the work that I started, the people that were arrested, the accounts that were frozen, those cases are in court, they are continuing in court now. So for me, I feel very proud about this, because it would be sad that once I took the steps that I took, I started the fight, and then in this government that stops, then it means whoever wants to start that fight again in future will have to go through what I've gone through. In the meantime, we lose money. And as you lose money, it's not Joyce Banda or the president, the current president that suffer or that lose. It is the ordinary Malawian. So what is happening in Malawi is good, as far as I'm concerned.
You're saying it's good?
Yeah.
I mean, Malawi still continues to be one of the poorest countries in Africa, dependent on foreign aid, as much as 40%. Dependent on foreign aid. Can it afford to have scandals, corruption scandals such as Cashgate? Do you think it was a deliberate smear campaign against you?
No, we are not talking about me. We are talking about Malawi.
Yes.
In 2001, the Minister of Justice who served under me, Ms. Honorable Father San, in 2001 announced that 30% of our resources are being lost through corruption. In 2006, he repeated that statement. He was then Director of Public Prosecution. So what my position now, what I am saying is that with all that, from 2001 to now, if indeed it is true what this Minister of Justice said, that 30% of our resources were being lost through corruption, then it means that if we are dependent on donors for 40%, we just need to fight corruption and save 30%. Then it is only 10% we shall require from donors. And if we exploit our resources, Malawi has abundant resources unexploited. We have gas, we have titanium, we have gold, we have oil. If we can exploit our resources, rare earth, then it means even the 10% we shall cover. And we shall not need the donors. That is what my position has been. So I would like to agree with you. And I would like to say categorically that I had 2 years, I started, but it is a fight that can't stop. And the reason why I said that earlier is because I truly believe that we can save 30%. And if we save 30%, one day, in the next 10 years, Malawi would not depend on donors.
I hope that day comes for sure.
And it must come.
Yes.
And it must come.
Malawi is primarily an agricultural economy, but you've been in business, you've been a successful entrepreneur as well. Now you're on your own. Is there something on the cards, any new businesses that you'll be starting again?
No, my personal businesses for income are in education.
In education.
But I have spent my adult life assisting women and youth gain social political empowerment through business and education. The business that I promote, I support women, most of them must be agribusiness. I do this deliberately because I truly believe that, number one, we have been experts in that field, whether we've been to school or not. I'm talking about we as women.
Sure.
And so I believe that it is the easiest entry point for women. So even for me as somebody who promotes business women, that is the entry point. We must encourage our women to go into agribusiness and early value addition, and then assist them to get export market. As I continue to expand the Joyce Banda Foundation, and as I continue to support women, that is my entry point. But I have said before, and I say now, that the mistake the world has made in the past 15 years, as we were implementing the MDGs, was to pick little bits and pieces and give to women. If I find that in your area there's no clinic, then I started trying to assist the women in that area to have a clinic so they can deliver at the hospital. So I'm looking at maternal health. Then I go to another village and find people have no food, and then begin to assist women. We didn't take a holistic approach. The holistic approach is what I have been promoting. That's what defines the Joyce Banda Foundation. I look at 5 pillars. I look at income for women. Because if women have income, they'll send their girls to school. And because if there's no income in this house, or if the income is not enough, it's the boys who go, not the girls. And that's pillar number 2, education for the girl child. And in this pillar, if girls don't go to school, they are getting married early. In our communities, they are encouraged to get married. Then they end up having babies early or catching HIV/AIDS. And if that happens, the women are dying, and now that's pillar number 3. It's about maternal health and HIV and AIDS. But having been a leader myself, the 4th pillar is leadership. I believe that if we get as many women as possible into leadership, then we shall be supporting women in these other 3 pillars. If they have role models, if they have mentors, if there's a woman in the State House, she will make sure that the girls are going to school. She will make sure that the issues of maternal health are addressed. And I know, because I've been there. So I can speak with authority. I know that I was president today. The next day, before I looked at the budget and what, I set up what I called the Presidential Initiative on Maternal Health and Safe Motherhood. And that's the reason why we have reduced maternal death from 675 per 100,000 to 460. And and the last pillar is rights, is that of rights. This last pillar cuts across all these other pillars. I cannot even begin to talk about the issues of rights.
Women's rights.
But that would be maybe
A
for another interview. Yeah.
interview.
Yeah. So that's what occupies me right now.
So you're saying that you're involved with the Joyce Banda Foundation. You're going to be involved with it going forward. What about politics? Is that something you will come back to at all?
I'm a founder of the People's Party.
Yes.
And I'm head of People's Party.
Yes.
And Malawians have to decide. I'm talking about members of the People's Party. Sure. Because being a democratic institution, organization, then it is the members of the party that must decide. Do they still want me to lead the party or not? Often it happens that if you're no longer in government, then the people in your party will say, why don't we change leadership?
Sure.
So I must listen to what the people have to say. As far as I'm concerned, whatever decision comes, that's fine with me.
What do you think awaits you in Malawi when you return?
I left 4 weeks after election, and I'm going back. My thinking is that I'm going back to continue with the work that I've done all my life. It is my activism and development work that led me to State House.
Sure.
Because I did that. I've done that work for 30 years. Out of those 30 years, maybe 10 years is what I dedicated to politics. Mm-hmm. Within the 10 years, I was Minister of Women and Children.
Yes.
I was Foreign Minister, I was Vice President, and I was President. So that's shorter than the time I've been development. So here in my mind, I'm already on the development agenda, on the development platform. But my party has to tell me what they want me to do as far as politics is concerned.